Welcome back, everybody, to the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. What you've all been waiting for. Robbie Lastella, Drew Shula, Toby Shulman here. And now we are joined by leader of the Fight Club, FAU softball coach, and most importantly, AAC regular season champion, Jordan Clark. Coach, how are you doing today? And overall, in the past 24 hours, just how you feeling?
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for having me, first of all. And it's been a whirlwind. I feel like, I woke up and it's another day. We're back in the office and getting ready. We leave tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. to head to conference tournament. So it's a quick turnaround, but it's been so cool just to see all the love and to see how much people have recognized our girls and our program and just how excited they are for this big accomplishment.
A big accomplishment indeed. First AAC regular championship in FAU history for at any sport. So it's
Yeah.
awesome to see. And for you yourself, first time as a softball head coach was at the D1 level was last year, and now at the end of season two, 76 wins and an AAC regular season championship. When you came here, was the expectation that you'll have instant success like this? And if not, maybe what were you thinking when you first signed that dotted line?
Yeah, I always say this is my ninth year in college coaching, and I was an assistant for 7 years, and then thankfully I've been a head coach now for 2 years. And so, I've had really good mentors along the way, and people always tell you don't just take a job just to take it because of a title or how much money you make. And over the years, there's been opportunities, there's been people that have reached out, and I was always, I was happy. I was happy at Ohio State. I was happy at Arkansas, and so I had to be convicted in my decision to become a head coach to make sure that I could have success. And you have to be somewhere where one, you can recruit, right? Does it sell itself? And I think we all know that Paradise does, especially for college softball. And so, am I surprised that we're having success this early? No, I'm not. And I know that sounds crazy. And to some people, they're like, well, you inherited a roster that was just 500, they just went 500, barely made the tournament, haven't had success over the years since 2018. And so I knew that I hired the best staff. Taylor Smart was an interim head coach at Troy. She, has been to regionals and to postseason. Nicole Newman played professionally, won several championships on her own. So I knew that if we got the right kids in here, that we would have success. And then with our transfers that we picked up this summer, they had been at previous schools. They've been to supers, they've been to regionals, they've won conference championships. So am I excited? Yes. Am I surprised? No. Just because it's a testament to our team and I saw how good we were at practice. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but I'm not surprised. I'm proud, but not surprised.
I'm here for it, Coach. A ton of great stuff there. And you mentioned Ohio State, and that's something me and Toby covers baseball for us. We're talking about before. Toby, you want to jump in here? I know that was something you were interested in.
Yeah, so you touched on your positions at past schools, coach being at
Yeah.
Ohio State and Arkansas. Obviously, Arkansas, a very high level school when you're talking softball and baseball. But
Yeah.
what was like your biggest takeaway that you've gotten from maybe the head coaches there that you've taken and tried to apply being a head coach at FAU?
Yeah, first of all, Courtney Deifel's done an amazing job at Arkansas. When we took over at Arkansas, it was her first year. She hired me, and we were the worst team in the SEC. We were 1-23, and so with her, the thing that I learned with her was like you have to believe in yourself, and if you believe in yourself, it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks. And for me, I believed in myself that we could come in here, hire a good staff, get good players, and coach them up. And so the thing I took from her was that, and we built a culture. And she talked about laying a foundation. And everybody wants quick success, right? I think even with NIL and with everything, everybody wants immediate. Hey, I'm going to pay this player to get here. I'm going to come do this. I'm going to do that. And for us, we wanted to build a foundation so that this thing lasts for more than just 1 year. It lasts for more than 2 years. And so from her, we took that. And then at Ohio State, to me, it was a situation where you can have all the resources you can in the world and you can play on the biggest national stage with the biggest national brand. But ultimately, you got to get the right kids in there and you got to develop. And at Ohio State, we had to get creative because we weren't getting some of the top recruits because we were competing against the ACC. We were competing against other Big Ten schools and SEC schools. So it showed you, okay, how do I get that second tier kid maybe? And how do we now still compete with the best of the best? Because the expectation at Ohio State is excellence in every sport. So building a foundation from Arkansas and developing kids at Ohio State would be the two biggest ones.
Would you say it's I looked at the schedule and I saw Arkansas on it. I saw some 10 schools. How cool is that for you as a coach, previously at these schools, to be able to welcome them in to now your home?
Yeah, it was bittersweet. And so I remember Courtney contacting me and just saying, "Hey, listen, like, can you get us into your tournament?" And we were already going to play at their place. And selfishly, I always said when I became a head coach and I could make my own schedule, I wanted to make sure I got in front of friends and family and got back to the state of Arkansas where I'm from. And so it just worked out perfect. It really did. And, to have that handshake at home plate, I think there's a picture of it. And it's just like, it honestly is priceless. And in this business, and you guys know, it's all about connections. It's all about networking, and your circle, the older you get, gets smaller and smaller, but it's about the quality of people in your life. And so being able to play Arkansas this year and then come down to Boca and play at our place, it's a memory that I'll forever have. And I'm so grateful for Courtney. And you have your people, and she's my person, and she's my one that I call with good news, bad news. And so just bittersweet for sure.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
You mentioned something there that and it goes along with Melissa's question that came up on the screen there. You mentioned it. I mentioned it a bit difficult to get players at Arkansas because you were competing against all these other schools.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like NIL has bursted on the scene in your first 2 years at FAU. How has that impacted? I was very, really curious. Thank you, Melissa, for asking. How has it impacted softball?
So when you look at your Oklahoma, who's national champion, one of the best teams in the country year in, year out, they're having to put up money for kids, right? Like they are. And I do think that softball is a sport that to get into softball, your family has to be, I'm not going to say well off, but, not just anyone can start softball, because a softball bat is $400, a glove is $200. And so our kids come in, and yes, you have some that are wealthier than others, some that come from better home life, better backgrounds. But for the most part, they're not demanding it. Whereas I think in basketball and football, it's, hey, if you want me, I need $1 million, and this is what I need, and this is what I want if you want to keep me. Softball, that's just not the culture yet. And I love that it's not the culture. I do think it's going to get there. I think it's going to get there. Luckily for us this year, it hasn't made a huge impact. I have people come to me all the time and they just say, "Hey, how can we help you? How can we keep some of these players?" And, for us, I want my kids to have NIL money, but I also want the program to get where it needs to go. And I think our girls see that when it comes to facilities, when it comes to resources. Like if you're comparing Arkansas's facility to FAU's facility, it is night and day difference, right? And I love that we get to play in front of palm trees and we have new padded walls and all the things. But ultimately, girls play good when they feel good. And when you feel good, you have nice things around you. And so luckily, my group's not super selfish. And I hope I don't offend people when I say that, but they want what's best for the program instead of, hey, how can I make money right now? And luckily with the Boca Youth Little League and with some other opportunities in town, they can come out and do camps and they can do clinics and all those things and make money by also growing the game. And that's something that we've preached to the girls is if you're going to go in the NIL space, how can you serve others and serve yourself? And don't just do it from like, hey, I made an appearance and I signed this autograph and I picked up a quick $1,000.
Excuse me. It's important like that there's value behind the NIL that everyone receives. So it's awesome to hear that. And you talked a little bit about everything that impacts the program and it makes me think. So you talked about in your opening press conference following up somebody like Joan Joyce and someone like her resume and just all that comes with the legend that she is. What maybe is something that people don't realize is hard about following up a legend, and how have you been able to be so successful in doing that?
Yeah, first of all, when you look at women's golf and you look at women's softball, Joan Joyce is the pioneer behind that. And so it's funny. So when I took this job, a lot of the people in my life told me not to take the job. And, at the beginning when I got the job, SIDs and all of our not HR, but communications, you're like, you probably shouldn't talk about it, right? But I like to talk about it because I think it paints the story to where we are 2 years later. And I think it's real. And as a young head coach in your early 30s, you're so excited to get the first job. And it was not warm welcomes from people. And in fact, I got bashed all over the internet and I got hate mail sent into inboxes. I got letters in the mail. And it's because Joan did impact so many lives. And so many people wanted to see, who she wanted to replace it. And unfortunately, like, she was no longer with us to make that decision. And so administration had to make a tough decision. And I say that because everything we've done so far has been to honor her. And one of the first things on the job was I went to Brian White and I'm like, listen, my kids still love her and they talk about her in this program, that the fans and the and just everybody in general within Boca that knew softball loved her. And so I'm like, how can we honor her? And so we named the field Joan Joyce Field. And so it's on the scoreboard, it's out on the walls. And so it's just as a reminder that, like, hey, she's not forgotten. Instead, like, she laid the foundation for this. And it's our job that she's smiling down on us by winning and growing this game and growing this sport. And so I love talking about her. I love seeing our girls talk about her. In the beginning, it wasn't easy though, right? Like, it was not easy. And I come in with a little bit of a different style than she had. She was a little later on in her career, and I'm young and it's fast paced and it's high energy. And so it's going to be different for everyone, but it was hard. But I think that all hard things lead to good endings if you have the right headspace. And we tell our girls all the time, like, you don't want it easy. You don't want it easy, because then when you do win and you are successful, it makes it that much bittersweet.
Here on 102.9 The Game with FAU coach Jordan Clark. Coach, take us back to this weekend on Joan Joyce Field. Obviously, trailing 7-1 in the sixth inning on Friday night. And then you guys go for two in the bottom half. And then in the seventh inning, the rest was history. What was the feeling in the dugout, obviously trailing there? And then after you guys came back, was it, oh yeah, we're not losing another game this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest, like, I usually never leave a pitcher in to give up that many runs. Like, I tend to have a short leash because I know that we have 5 good ones. And so, usually 3 runs is the max. And I'm like, all right, let's make a switch. Offensively, we hadn't shown that we were doing much that game. And I didn't want to waste a bunch of arms because I knew that we were going to need a couple the next 2 days to beat Tulsa. And so I remember looking at my assistant halfway during the game and I was like, I need to make a change here. I don't want to make a change here. So I just need you guys to trust me, and we're just going to ride this thing out. And if we come back, we come back. And if we don't, I'm the one that doesn't sleep tonight knowing I didn't make a change. And so then we woke up, we made some changes into the lineup. We put some subs in, and they stepped up in some big ways and gave us a spark. And so I know our team, and I know that we can come back, but I also know that there was so much pressure on the weekend. So I was nervous that, like, we were making the moment bigger than what it should have been. And so it was paralyzing us in the box to where we couldn't swing at good pitches, and we were getting runners on, and our kids who have the high averages, high RBIs, just weren't getting it done. And so at one point, I think it was 7-1 or 7-3. It was 7-1 7-1. And I was like, dang, like, we just gave this away. Like, we gave this away. Like, I'm going to be so pissed when Charlotte's holding up the trophy because we just didn't show up. And then all of a sudden it was like spark. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then once we got into that 7th inning and we had the bases loaded with no outs, I was like, we're about to freaking do this. Like, we are going to steal this from this team. And a part of me felt a little guilty because I've been on the other side of it before. And I was like, this is a sucky way to lose. But our girls are relentless. They're relentless, and they don't take no for an answer in all aspects of life. And, they kind of take on our personality of prove people wrong. And so they did that. But I was pissed. I'm going to be honest. Like, I was like, man, like, you could just feel a championship slipping out from your fingers, and you're just like, you want it so bad for them and for the program, but you ultimately can't swing the bat for them. And they proved me wrong.
They did indeed. They came back. It might have been Joan Joyce, laying a hand from above on you guys, or it might have been that crazy fan base that was out all weekend, bleacher stomping, tailgating. It's awesome. And Coach, so how was that atmosphere to you, and how much does it impact the play on the field when they're getting rowdy behind you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of answers one of the questions that somebody has, is that, when it comes to female sports, we have to continue to push, and we have to continue to fight for our girls, and we have to fight for people to be there. And somebody had heard me on a radio show on Wednesday night, and I was like, I don't care who you are, bring your church, bring your neighbors, bring your this, bring your that, stomp the bleachers. And so it was really cool because on Saturday we saw some people tailgating that we didn't recognize. And I told the girls, I was like, hey, let's go talk to them. Right. And they were like, what do we say? I'm like, just speak from the heart, whatever, like, just tell them thank you for coming. And so I was like, hey, like, what brought you guys here? And they were like, we heard your thing. And, you know, we've never been to a softball game and we want to come out and support. And so after the game, they were still tailgating. And I remember talking to them. I was like, well, what'd you guys think? And they're like, oh my gosh, why have we not been to more games? Like, we're a fan for life now. And so I say that because women's sports are exciting. We play with passion. We play with energy. Robbie, you were out there, like, they're loud. They're obnoxious. They do stupid dances when they get to first base. Like Cam Jackson was doing a handstand at one point, and I'm like, I'm just looking around going like, how can you not find this entertaining? And so it's cool because we have our OGs, the ones that sit right behind home plate, Jim and Ernie and his whole crew, and they're there every game. They were there when we were good. They were there when we were bad. They're there when it's 100 degrees. They're there when it's 60 degrees. And so I think that's the part of this job is like, yes, winning is fun, but seeing it grow in all aspects with community, fans, the play on the field, getting you guys interested in it. Like, it's been so fun to see on Twitter and social media how much love you guys have given us. And the girls love to text me like, did you see this person tweet about us? Did you see this picture? Did you see this video? And I don't know, like, it's just all about making these kids' day. And I say these are supposed to be the best 4 years of your life. And if it's our job to facilitate that and give them the best 4 years so that they walk away kind of encouraging people to be college athletes moving forward.
Everything, yes, coach. Everything, yes. I felt I am guilty. I was a student myself. I didn't make enough time for softball when I was a student, but I graduated on Saturday. I graduated on Friday, actually, and I'm not going to miss another game. I'm not. I swear that being with you guys when you guys were celebrating senior day after, I was saying this to Drew and Toby before you got on. You guys were in the moment. It was awesome. Everyone's, like you said, doing cartwheels and everyone's smiling. And coach, it's awesome to see a team enjoy the moment. Yes, obviously, you know, focused on the future, the tournament coming right up, but that moment right there is special, and you guys capitalized on it.
Yeah, and I just think too, like, it's supposed to be fun. And I think that, like, people get so caught up with how much money am I making? How much publicity am I getting? What pictures are taken of me? And for our girls, it's how can you have fun? And how can you not make this stressful? Because it's not supposed to be stressful. And yes, like, you go 0 for 3, strike out 3 times, it's going to be stressful. You give up a home run, it's going to be stressful. But at the end of the day, like, you're never going to get to play with this group ever again. And you're creating memories that are going to last forever. And I tell them all the time, in 20 years from now, you are not going to remember what your batting average was. You are going to remember how somebody did so stupid, like Cam Jackson doing a freaking handstand and a cartwheel on the way to get her senior plaque on the mound with Brian White and Stacy, the president. And I'm like, no, she just didn't. She did a dang cartwheel to go get her framed jersey. And I'm like, yep, that's my team. And I was so proud because I've always envisioned having a team that is not afraid to be authentically themselves. And whether it's dancing, whether it's celebrating, I think in life, like, we are pushed into boxes of how we're supposed to act and what we're supposed to do and what we're supposed to say. And to show up and just be yourself, I think there's nothing more priceless than that.
That's exactly what Ainsley Lambert said in her post-game interview. I don't know if that's a mantra, but authentically the Owls is maybe the most it's my new favorite slogan for sure. I love it, Coach. I love it. Here on Bleacher Brothers Sports Network with Coach Jordan Clark. But, you know, a key factor about this team is the consistency. You talked about that yesterday. All throughout the year, really. Most wins since 47 in 2016, regular season-wise. What has been the driving factor behind this team to try to remain consistent throughout the season?
I think we're balanced. We're balanced we're not just a pitching team or we're not just an offensive team. We are balanced on both sides of the ball, especially, as defense as well. In all three respective categories, we lead the league in something, right? And so like Ainsley's leads it in ERA in the pitching stand front. Defense, up until this last weekend, we were, I think second in the country out of 300 Division I teams in fielding percentage. Offense, we lead the conference in several statistical categories. So we're getting something from all three so that when the game comes and it is a 0-0 ball game, we don't go into panic because we're not hitting. Instead, it's, hey, our pitchers are going to guide us right now. They're going to help us get to the fifth, get to the sixth, and keep it close. And so I do think plays a part of it. I think leadership, you have 11 seniors. That's going to play a piece of it, that out of those 11 seniors, 8 are transfers, or 9 are 8 are transfers. And, you got Cam Jackson, who played at Duke, who played for a Super Regionals last year. You got Callie Kildow from Arkansas, who played for a Supers. Megan Mall, who's played, was at Missouri, played for a Super Regionals. So they've been in big time moments so that, last year when it was a 1-0 ball game where we were ranked first in conference at one point, it was like, oh my gosh, what do we do? This is like the unknown charted territory. Whereas this year, they just keep on swinging and they keep pitching and they just keep it consistent. And so we just haven't made moments bigger than themselves.
And you talk about throwing punches, that throwing the first punch, throwing the last punch. I love it, Coach. That's what she said after the game yesterday. And Drew, who covers football for us, he brought up a good point. Drew, do you want to jump in here and ask what you were talking about before?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Fight Club slogan, the mantra for this year. I just wanted to ask, so just throwing the first punch, throwing the last punch, that's important for you. It's what you preach to your team, but obviously it's not going to go like that every time. What's the message to your team when it goes off script?
Yeah, I mean, you think about a boxing match, right? And most boxing matches are ultimately 8 rounds. Women's is a little bit different, but you might get your beat for 7 rounds, and you might get to throw one punch in the 8th and you knock somebody out, even though you're bloody, your face is beat up. And so we talk about that, like, you might get kicked around for 7 innings, but if you have enough life in you to stand up, to believe in yourself, to get a punch off, then you might have a chance. And so, so sometimes we don't get to throw the first punch, but then that's where, comes in, and how can you be the last man standing? And so we've really just taken to that this year. We talk about how it's so much easier if you throw the first punch because you back somebody into a corner. So it's like, like when you won the first round in a boxing match, that like you're sitting in that corner feeling good, whereas the other person's like, getting their face cleaned off, getting their teeth checked. And it's like, you have that momentum. And so for us, it's how can you be the last one standing? And so I tell them, you can do it now or you can do it later. You guys just got to decide what kind of game you want to make it. But the girls have had a ton of fun with it. They love it. And it's nice because, so fun fact, I was a school teacher for 3 years. I taught 6th through 8th grade. And I'm a big believer that if you give people something to hold on to and to grasp, that you can always go back to that theme throughout the season. I think some teams use a theme or use certain words, and then they never talk about them until things get hard. We talk about them every single day through the good, the bad, the fun. And so that way, when the game does come up, and we didn't get to throw the first punch, we can at least know that, like, how can we last that last round?
That's awesome. I love that.
Winded down here with the FAU coach, Jordan Clark. So you talked about being the last one standing, Coach, and another opportunity this weekend to do that. Unfortunately, last year fell a little bit short in the CUSA tournament. But you also ended the season last year on a 3-game win streak. So what did you learn from the end of last season that you can hopefully try to put towards this season and end it in a AAC title?
Yeah, last year we fought with what we had. And I say that because our girls gave it everything they had on that field. And ultimately, we just played a team that had a little bit more talent and a little bit more luck at the end. And we just didn't have the timely hit, right? And that was the thing last year that I'll never forget it. We had a runner on first, no outs to tie it up in the bottom of the 7th. And we popped the bunt up, and it was a double play, basically ball game over to end the season. And so I say that because we made that moment bigger than what it was. When it's, you've bunted the ball all year long. You have moved runners all year long. But because my heart rate was so sped up, I couldn't get it done. So this year, I think we're a little bit better as we've been battle tested. We've been down by 4 runs, 5 runs, 6 runs, and we've been able to come back and we've seen ourselves do it. Whereas last year at this time, like we were just fighting for our life and trying to grasp onto something. And this year, like we have just proven that we can dominate in all aspects of the game. So I think we're playing with a little bit more confidence right now than we did last year at this time. Last year at this time, we were still trying to figure out if we belong. We were trying to figure out if, we had enough talent to go blow for blow with some of the top teams. You were the number 4 seed and you're playing the number 1, 2, and 3 seeds. And so it's like, well, they're better than us. Whereas this year, you are the 1 seed. You got the target on your back, but you also have that confidence that, hey, we just did this and we won 21 regular season games. And I say that it's harder to win regular season than it is the tournament because people can kind of get on a roll in the tournament. So I just think we're going to play with a little bit more confidence right now.
Awesome to hear. Confidence is key heading into the postseason play, but you can also be a little bit confident knowing that at least in nothing's guaranteed as we've seen with the at-large situations before, but is there any comfort behind knowing that you guys are in a position to potentially get one, or is it just, let's win this regular season title and don't even leave anything up to chance?
I mean, it's stressful, right? Like anytime you control your own destiny, it's stressful. It would be nice for somebody to look at you and be like, hey, you're in, and then you can play with a little bit more ease. We know that that's not the case. We know we're on the bubble. It sucks that we're on the bubble because ultimately we're a mid-major, whereas our strength of schedule is, in some ways better than, say, Florida. But because it's Florida, they're Power 5 and the SEC has better RPI numbers on a daily basis than that they're playing against, they get a little bit more credit, which rightfully so. They've had an awesome year. But you're sitting there going, hey, y'all got 40 wins. We got 41 wins. So it's just the name of the game and the beast that we're in with college athletics is, some of the smaller guys gotta earn it and gotta work for it. So we do talk about it. I'm obviously a little bit more stressed because I know how important Friday night's game is. I think if we can get to Friday night's game and win in Friday night's game, I think it gives us a very, very good chance to get our name called. If we don't win Friday night's game, it's going to be tough. And we're just going to have to sit there and cross our fingers and hope that it goes our way. But we control our own destiny. We know that, we're going to do whatever it takes to win Friday night's game to give us a chance. We would love to see us, say us and Charlotte in the finals. Charlotte's most likely already in the tournament just from a numbers standpoint. So you ultimately are looking at bids across the board. And if Charlotte gets upset, do 3 teams in the American make it? I don't think so. And so, so ideally you kind of want that 1 and 2 seed to make it out to the end. Cause then it's like, if you lose to Charlotte and they're already in the tournament, then I think the committee goes, hey, you know what? Like they competed against a team that we're letting in. So it gives us a better chance, but we'll kind of see.
It's good to hear that Friday game will matter towards the resume. In learned in basketball that it doesn't. At least their tournament in basketball.
No, they lost that game, and I was like, what?
Yep.
They got like a really good seed, and I'm like, good for y'all. I'm proud of y'all.
Yep.
But softball is so different. Like if we lose that Friday night game, the committee's basically like, well, cool, you won the regular season, but good luck next year.
Yeah, no, there you go. Coach, last one for you before we let you go back to preparing for this weekend ahead. But so obviously you guys you're focused on the here or the now, but back-to-back really successful seasons for you guys. Is there any feel that there's a potential dynasty building right here in front of you?
Oh man, I don't know. That's a tough one, Robbie. I will say this. I love our team. I love our freshmen and sophomores and juniors that we have returning next year. I think our 2024 recruiting class is really good. I think our 2025 recruiting class is really good. We've shown that we can get top-level transfers if we want them. I think this is a destination place, and I think that with a young staff, I think girls feel confident and empowered playing for us. And so I think that we're going to continue to be able to get talent in here. It's our job to continue to coach them. But Dynasty, I don't know about that, but I do think that we will. I know that we should be the top 4 teams in conference every year. And, as long as we're here, that is the standard, that is the goal. And, I like to win and I like hard things. And so we're always going to figure out ways to continue to stay relevant and in the conversation. When Brian hired me, he asked what was my plan of attack for the next couple of years, and, able to lay it out of like, what did I see the next 5 years look like? And the fact that we got there in year 2, I think he's like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So, we'll see. We go year to year. Who knows?
We'll let the fans call it a dynasty, Coach, but something special is indeed being built right here at Joan Joyce Field, FAU Stadium in Paradise. Make sure to catch the Lady Owls in Wichita, Kansas, Friday and Saturday next week. Coach, thank you so much for hopping on with us. We haven't been the most loyal all season, but I promise you this, you're going to get the best out of me going forward for sure.
All right, Drew, Toby, you better jump on board too.
Yep. Go Owls, Coach. We'll see you in Wichita. Yeah. We'll take a brief break here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network, and we'll be right back.
Thank you. Go Owls.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.